Tonight, Ontario has officially entered another wave of COVID-19.
These waves we anticipate occurring on a regular basis as this virus continues to mutate.
Ontario's top doctor confirming today we are now in a seventh wave, driven by the Omicron BA.5 subvariant. How concerned should we be? Plus,
the way to win a leadership isn't by disqualifying your political opponents.
Patrick Brown firing back, blaming a political rival and his supporters after being disqualified from the federal Conservative leadership race. And
oh my God, hang on. Just let your heart out fall, bro.
The Ministry of Labor is now investigating after this frightening video made the rounds of a worker holding on for dear life as he dangled high in the air above a downtown construction site. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Summer is here, and so is another wave of COVID-19. That's according to the province's chief medical health officer. It's thanks to the rapid rise of the Omicron BA.5 subvariant. And while Dr. Kieran Moore says he is anticipating a smaller wave, the surge in cases still has some experts concerned. Our Jessica Ng reports.
Sadly, yes, we're in another wave.
The province's top doctor says we're currently in a seventh wave of COVID infections, largely driven by the Omicron subvariant BA.5.
The forecasting has shown it's roughly 66% of circulating strains now are of the BA.5 variety of COVID. It's causing an increase in positivity of tests.
Ontario's COVID Science Advisory Table confirming today test positivity and hospitalizations are at their highest levels since May. Virus levels in wastewater also rising over the past month.
We expect 4 or 5 more weeks of BA.5 being a dominant strain.
So what do we know about this COVID strain?
If you've had BA.1, there is a risk of reinfection, that there is immune evasion by BA.5.
It's also highly infectious. Data shows Canada is a couple of weeks behind countries like
the UK, where hospitalization jumped by almost 40% in the space of a week. Certainly the kind of strain on our healthcare system that a giant jump in hospitalizations now, that would be a big problem.
The rise is prompting epidemiologists like Colin Furness to call on the provincial government for more measures to protect public health, like masking indoors, N95 respirator masks provided by the government, and paid sick days.
Unavailability of some consumer goods, crowds at airports, overburdened hospitals. A lot of this has to do with the fact that people are out sick and then coming back to work while they're still sick.
People seem to be less careful about coming to work sick, so a lot of people are going into work sick.
And not wearing masks in places like public transit, where mandates have been lifted.
6 out of 30 people, I think, were wearing a mask, and in terms of a new wave coming, I think we're going to have to step that up.
With roughly 80% of public health units reporting exponential growth in COVID cases, Furness says we also need to be cautious outdoors this summer.
If you have to be in a crowd like that, or you want to be in a crowd like that, wear a mask, a respirator mask. It's not about doing what others do, it's about doing what you need to do to be safe.
Looking forward to the fall, Dr. Moore says there is the possibility of a return to indoor mask mandates depending on capacity levels in hospitals. Jessica Ng, CBC News, Toronto.
Staffing shortages and an influx of patients who put off health issues due to the pandemic are playing a role in a new healthcare crisis in Ontario. Tonight, we're hearing from one woman whose 100-year-old mother-in-law recently went to the ER at Hamilton Health Sciences after a fall at her long-term care home.
My husband and his sister stayed with her for the greater part of the afternoon. She was admitted in the morning of June 12th. They were there all afternoon and they were with her, and she was sleeping on and off. Never taken from the hallway, what we call hallway medicine, that's what it was. We went back around 6:30 after dinner. She'd been there since about 11 in the morning. And my concern was that she'd had nothing to drink. I don't want to blame any of the staff, any of the nurses. They're dealing with a really difficult situation right now.
The family says they did get a call from the hospital with an update on Irene, but that wasn't until early the next morning. She had surgery later in the day and is now recovering. What was supposed to be a day of celebration for the Tibetan community to mark the Dalai Lama's birthday also became a day of mourning for the Tibetan woman who died yesterday after being deliberately set on fire on a TTC bus.
The Dalai Lama always preached peace and compassion, and now that this has happened, it's sort of contradicting and overwhelming, contradicting, sad, all those feelings.
A moment of silence was held for the victim. She died at Sunnybrook Hospital yesterday. Police have described the attack that happened last month as random and hate-motivated. Both the victim and the accused are members of the Tibetan community. 33-year-old Tenzin Norbu faces 4 charges in relation to the attack, including attempted murder, which could still be upgraded. The victim's family is asking for privacy at this time. Patrick Brown is firing back tonight after being ousted as a candidate in the federal Conservative leadership race due to allegations of wrongdoing. The Brown campaign says it intends on appealing the decision, while some of his foes on Brampton City Council are also speaking up. Lorena Redekop has this story.
We felt we had the points to win, and I really believe it was the party establishment wanting to make sure that Pierre Poilievre didn't lose.
Patrick Brown today blaming another candidate in the Conservative race, the two seen as on opposite ends of the Conservative spectrum.
I've challenged some of the orthodoxy of traditional conservatism. I've said very clearly, it doesn't matter who you love, where you're born, the color of your skin, what God you worship. I'm going to build a party that fights for everyone.
Last night, the party's leadership election organizing committee dumped Brown. It said the current Brampton mayor was being dropped due to serious allegations of wrongdoing related to financing rules. Brown says he's not clear what exactly the complaint is about.
How do you respond to an anonymous allegation? They said that there was someone in our campaign who was being paid by a corporation. They wouldn't give us the name of the individual. They wouldn't give us the name of the corporation. We had 1,800 volunteers on our campaign.
Some Brampton City councillors came out with an allegation. They say hundreds of thousands of dollars in contracts went to a firm where a Brown political ally worked. Brown says that allegation has already been proven false after an investigation.
I had no stake in the game regarding the Conservative Party. I don't want to interfere on the leadership, but certainly it hurts our reputation and our image as a city of Brampton when what's happening there. And then after we have ongoing investigations here. So it just seems that there's a pattern that's consistently involved the city of Brampton.
The councillors are also frustrated. 4 city council meetings have been cancelled over the past months, including the one today.
We're here to do the job, 5 of us, and the other Councillor Santos and the other councillors don't show up. At the end, it's costing taxpayers money. And what about all the applications, all the staff reports? And so everything comes to a halt. It's millions and millions of dollars.
As for the vote in the federal Conservative race and what happens, a Conservative source tells CBC News that the hundreds of thousands of ballots have already been printed and Brown's name is on them. Any votes for Brown will be ignored. Brown says he's looking into legal avenues and what his options are. Lorena Redekop, CBC News, Brampton.
From Brampton to neighboring Mississauga, where a city councillor has had his pay suspended for 60 days. The city's integrity commissioner has ruled that Mississauga councillor Ron Starr likely did key someone's car last year. And not just anybody's car, but one belonging to fellow councillor Karen Raz. Now, she has since resigned over the alleged harassment. Ali Chiasson has more.
Mississauga Council chambers sounded like a courtroom today.
Councillor Starr did not scratch that car.
The video, according to the integrity commissioner.
Madam Mayor.
No.
Yeah, I really think I need to jump in. This shouldn't be a conversation about going back and forth about the evidence.
It's alleged that Mississauga councillor Ron Starr repeatedly keyed a vehicle at City Hall last year, which belonged to former councillor Karen Raz. Integrity Commissioner Robert Swayze investigated and came to the conclusion
it is probable that Councillor Starr committed that act. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Since it is not a criminal trial, reasonable doubt does not apply here. The decision is based on probability. Not everyone thought that was fair.
I'm not convinced by this report that Couldn't have been somebody else. The scratches couldn't have been there for a couple days and not noticed.
The Integrity Commissioner viewed video evidence, which has not been released to the public, allegedly showing Starr crouching by Rass's Toyota for about 5 seconds, some time before she discovered the scratches on her car. Starr also paid $1,200 for the damage, which some saw as an admission of guilt.
She's seeking justice, not just repayment for damages. And I think that's what we need to do here today.
Council then had to vote whether they agree with the findings and the penalty, that Starr should have his pay suspended for 60 days.
The vote is 9 in support and 2 against.
We are happy that Council made the right decision today.
Karen Rass resigned in February because of this alleged harassment and says she didn't feel supported by Council or the mayor when she first made the complaint. Her lawyer spoke to us on her behalf.
I hope that women in politics are watching this and know that they don't have to put up with mistreatment.
Councillor Ron Starr still denies any wrongdoing. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Mississauga.
Rachel Modestino from the Weather Network joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Rachel, so good to have you back. How's it looking out there tonight?
It is looking fantastic tonight, and that fantastic weather continues into your Thursday. I love delivering good news, and this is a textbook summer morning for Torontonians, and it doesn't get better than this. We're right around that seasonal mark, Thursday afternoon rather, feeling like 30 with a calm southeasterly breeze. But we will be seeing plenty of sunshine as well. You can see in the icons, and with that comes the risk for some higher UV ratings, especially for the Golden Horseshoe. We're right around that 10, so make sure that you have your extra precautions, sunscreen and hats when you're out during the afternoon. A lot of this does spill into Friday as well. Around the Golden Horseshoe, we'll be feeling like 31. And once again, plenty of sunshine. We are going to be watching, though, a cold front that's making its way through. Not so much giving us any rainfall, but it will be cooling temperatures down for our weekend. So we'll be right back with that for you in a long-range forecast.
Looking forward to it. Thanks so much, Rachel. A man is in hospital with life-threatening injuries after being hit by a vehicle near Lansdowne and St. Clair early this morning.
The male was suffering from very serious trauma, and at this stage of the investigation, it looks like it's likely a fail to remain, but we're not committed to that at this point.
It happened around 4:30 a.m. The man was found lying in the westbound lanes on St. Clair. He's believed to be in his 40s or 50s. So far, police haven't released any description of the vehicle that may have been involved. It was a terrifying ordeal that's now under investigation by the Ministry of Labor. A construction worker left dangling nearly a dozen stories in the air above a downtown construction site. The incident yesterday captured on cell phone video that has now gone viral. The man lucky to be alive. Greg Ross takes a look at what happened.
Oh my God, hang on! Hang on! Just let your heart out fall, bro!
It's shocking video of a man dangling from the end of a crane at a downtown construction site.
Definitely a scary situation.
Philip Ferreira is the president of S1 Integration Systems, a health and safety consulting company.
By the looks of that video, that worker's arm got tangled in a line that's connected to that load, most likely the tag line.
We have confirmed with the contractor responsible for this site that that is indeed what happened. A spokesperson for PCL Constructors Canada told CBC in a statement, "We can confirm that an incident took place on our site located at Front and Simcoe yesterday involving a rigger who got entangled in a tag line after hooking a load. Fortunately, he was safely lowered to the work surface and not seriously injured."
Definitely could have been far worse. That worker is very lucky to walk away from that incident.
Ferreira says it's difficult to say how something like this could happen or if it was the result of some sort of negligence.
There's a lot of ways things can go wrong on a construction site. It is a dangerous job.
According to PCL Constructors, the man dangling from the bottom of the crane was employed by an outside contractor to work as a rigger.
A rigger basically is someone that's responsible for rigging a load. Right? They're setting it up, strapping it in, securing it, preventing it from collapsing.
The rigger is also responsible for communicating with the crane operator.
Communication is important, vital. Clear sight of the load and where the load is being moved from is extremely important. proper hoisting and rigging techniques.
But Ferreira isn't sure if the man was able to operate his radio once tangled on the tag line. And Ferreira says the crane operator may not have been able to see him.
The line of sight from a tower crane operator can be easily obstructed depending on the position of the tower crane and the position of the load.
This incident yesterday is now under investigation by both the Ministry of Labor and the contractor who operates the site where this happened. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. Retired Scarborough NHL player Brian Marchment has died. He died unexpectedly today in Montreal at the age of 53. He was in the city for the NHL draft festivities. The rugged defenseman played 17 seasons in the league, including spending some time with the Maple Leafs. Marchment also served as a scout for the San Jose Sharks. No cause of death has been released. The Toronto FC is welcoming a face to the team, and he greeted media today. You're looking at Italian veteran Domenico Crescito, who was signed to TFC through 2023. He'll join the roster in the fullback position, where the team was left short after the departure of a few key players. His career already spans more than 15 years. The Raptors is also showcasing a new player today. Otto Porter Jr. has been signed to the team, fresh off winning the NBA championship with the Golden State Warriors. Now, he hopes to help bring the Larry O'Brien Trophy back to Toronto after a few years away.
I think with this team, we're capable of going very far in playoff. I think this team is definitely ready to get back to the finals.
6'8" player was an important piece of the Warriors squad this past season, playing in 19 playoff games. He's played 9 seasons in the NBA and was selected 3rd overall by Washington in the 2013 draft. Let's go back to Rachel Modestino from the Weather Network. And Rachel, going to need some sunscreen over the next few days.
Yes, you will. It will be a gorgeous weekend. Let's take a look at what we can expect on Saturday. We saw that cold front that went through on Friday, and it's going to be cooling temperatures down. This is maybe 4 to 5 degrees below seasonal for this time of year. So it's going to be a cooler game if you're heading out to the BMO field on Saturday to watch the Toronto FC. We'll be looking at temperatures around that 20-degree mark, but your drive home will be quite chilly. Looking ahead for the rest of the weekend and start of our next work week, we're in quite a stable air mass. This ridge here will be bringing us quite beautiful conditions, but dry conditions for the next 3 days, but even beyond that. I'll give you a look in the next 7 days, but chances are your grass is looking something like this around the GTA. We took this just outside of the Oakville office here at the Weather Network, and it's more like straw than grass, and that's all because we've had such a dry June. We barely got over 44 millimeters, well below seasonal once again in terms of rainfall amounts. And many of us are asking, well, where has the rain gone? Well, it did get deflected all the way up into Montreal, where they approached 200% of their normal. So when can we give our sprinklers and water hoses a break? Well, it's not looking like they will be doing any sort of break in the next 5 days or so. Even past the weekend, we're looking at dry conditions with humidity building right back in on our Monday. There is a chance, however, for some rainfall through Tuesday and Wednesday, but this is going to be of next week. We'll be looking forward to maybe seeing more of these rainfall amounts and passing rain showers as we head throughout our July with brief visits of summer, but it will be frequent cold fronts in the forecast.
Thanks so much, Rachel. Toronto's red-hot housing market starting to cool. New numbers from the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board show the average selling price in the GTA has fallen by 14% since February. But as Natalie Collada explains, the lower prices don't necessarily mean things are getting more affordable.
For the first time in a long time, this Toronto couple feels their dream of buying a home in the GTA may actually come true.
I think this is the time where we have some hope that we could get a place of our choice. We can have the conditions placed, we can get things done. So yeah, we're in the market now and hopeful that we should be able to find a place this year.
Toronto and the GTA's red-hot housing market is cooling, and experts say the power is starting to shift to the buyers.
It's moving towards a buyer's market. Wouldn't call it totally buyer's market right now.
but properties are taking longer to sell. And if it continues like that, it could well move to a buyer's market.
June data from the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board shows the number of detached home sales dropped by more than 40% in Toronto and the GTA from the same time last year, with similar drops for semi-detached homes, townhouses, condo, and apartments. While house prices have risen by just over 3% to over $1.4 million year over year. Prices have steadily fallen for the last 4 months in a row, dropping by 14% since its peak in February.
We're seeing a similar number of listings compared to this time last year, but sales are lower. So what that means is that buyers who are still active in the market despite higher borrowing costs are benefiting from more choice.
Experts attribute the slowdown to the rise in interest and mortgage rates and inflation, which recently hit 7.7%, the highest it's been in almost 40 years.
Financial experts warn lower housing prices don't necessarily mean it's more affordable.
You need to make sure that you can afford your mortgage if it was 2, 3, 4, 5 percentage points higher, because the Bank of Canada has made it very clear they want to get inflation under control. They want to get it back to their target of 2 to 3%. And that means they have to aggressively raise interest rates in order to make that happen. And the byproduct of that is that borrowing costs go up.
So is now a good time to buy? Well, that depends.
So it's more about understanding whether you can afford it long term rather than trying to time the market and get in and save X amount of dollars. It's more about buying a home that you can afford, buying a home that you're going to love, and buying a home that's going to make you happy for the long term, so 15 to 20 years.
And that's exactly what this couple planned to do. Natalie Collada, CBC News, Toronto.
Finally tonight, something to put a smile on your face, even if it's not on this crabby guy you're about to see. A biologist with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans has come across a curious-looking crab. This sad-looking crab was spotted at Denman Island in BC. Some people believe the design was drawn on the crab, but a research scientist says it's not uncommon to see markings on this type of crab. That is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.